All right. You ready?
Wait, let me take a drink.
Okay. Yeah, gotta make sure vocal cords are good and ready to go.
La 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 la.
Okay. Hello and welcome to case number 1 before the world's 9 best fantasy football players small claims court. I am Judge Daniel presiding over this case. Plaintiff is suing the defendant here, stating that the defendant wrongly claimed wide receiver Brandin Cooks and would like to receive his player in return. Plaintiff, please speak your name into the record and make your opening statement.
Your Honor, my name is Miguel Romanella Georgia Kim. I am the manager of the historic fantasy football team, Undefeated Never Lost. My case will consist of 3 points. 1, it is irrelevant whether Mr. Cooks has become more valuable since the trade, since the drop-in and acquisition occurred before that. While I do admit that his recent performance is the only reason why I'm pursuing compensation, what happened after the fact should have no standing on this case. Number 2, a policy which would allow me to receive Mr. Cooks for a small tax was instituted after the acquisition by the defendant. But I would argue that this policy was already understood league-wide before it was formally discussed in the group message. Mr. Cooks has clear fantasy value in a deep league, and no one tried to claim him other than the defendant. Additionally, even if an unwritten rule has no standing in court, this case will become precedent for future mistakes. What if Alvin Kamara is accidentally dropped? Would it be fair for a bidding war to occur in such case? Number 3, while my stance has consistently been to side with the league regulations, the defendant's stand has changed wildly. I initially allowed Joe to keep Mr. Cooks as the commissioner did not intervene. However, once the regulation was clarified, I offered Joe compensation for the money that he mistakenly spent on Mr. Cooks. Once I did that, Joe did not only reject the trade, but I was also met with public shaming as a private civil discussion that I was entitled. While I have acted completely professionally and in according to the rules, Joe went from offering me Mr. Cooks for free to refusing my offer within 1 weekend. And he has acted with the intention of self-improvement rather than to remain within the order of the law. Thank you, Your Honor.
And thank you. Defense, please speak your name into the record and make your opening statement.
Good evening, Your Honor. Thank you for having us here today to hear this ridiculous claim. I, the defendant, Mr. Joseph Michael Facciabene, am here to defend my claim of rightful ownership of one wide receiver, Brandin Cooks. To address anything that the plaintiff, Mr. Miguel, said, I disagree with all of these statements. It is his own fault that he dropped Brandin Cooks, regardless of whether it was an accident due to his extremely fat fingers, or if it was intentional just to stir up drama within this league and slander my good name in the public eye. I offered to give back Brandin Cooks, and Miguel said no. Keep him. That should be enough to stake my claim and rightful ownership over this wide receiver's fantasy stats. Thank you.
And thank you. I'd like to start with a question here for the plaintiff. Miguel, you claimed that Brandin Cooks was dropped accidentally. Who were you trying to drop in his place?
I was trying to drop J.J. Taylor, and during the course of this case, I have thought of 2 reasons why I might have done that, although it was 4 a.m. and I don't remember correctly my state of mind. One is that both of them have blue and red jerseys, and I don't mean to be racist, but both of them are of African-American descent. So at the end of the day, their pictures, their small icons on the screen were fairly similar. Number 2 is that I was considering dropping Brandin Cooks for a certain amount of time before I made that mistake.
So it was intentional.
No, I was considering it. So I might have subconsciously accidentally clicked on his name in confusion since I was considering it, but I chose not to.
Some would even say premeditated.
Some may. Defense, I've heard you have some documentation to submit to the court.
I do. I would like to submit some evidence for the record. First, Exhibit A. This occurred immediately following Miguel's accidental dropping and my claiming of Brandin Cooks. He
Miguel
says,
pause for a second there. Miguel, is this you in this picture here? Can you confirm this is your account?
Yes, Your Honor.
Romanello.
Yes, Your Honor.
And
note
what are you doing in this
next
picture
to-
here, Miguel?
I am scratching my eyes.
Interesting. Both of your eyes itch at the same time, and you choose to use one finger per eye to scratch. Interesting. Defense, you may proceed.
Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I quote, "Hey, I was kidding, haha," referring to Miguel slandering my name in the league chat about being in bad faith of picking up Brandin Cooks from the free agent market. Continuing, looking back, it came across as a lot more seriously than I meant it to. It was like 4 a.m. in my defense. Sidebar, he was delirious, admitted to being so. Returning, he's all yours. Good luck, because he has been awful though. Was kind of hoping the new offense would help a bit, but I don't think it's going to happen. Clearly, this is evidence for premeditation of dropping Brandin Cooks, which Miguel also admitted to moments ago in this very court.
Your Honor,
Very
premeditation.
Yeah, plaintiff, please, if you have any comments here.
Premeditation does not imply that I conducted the action intentionally. Just because I was considering doing it before, it doesn't mean that I intended to do so at the time, and it should not be judged accordingly.
Miguel, then what do you make of this statement? Quote, "He's all yours, good luck."
Your Honor, like I said before, I was trying to conduct myself within the regulations of the league at all times. At the time, we had yet not had the discussion in our group chat, so I believed that most of the league would side with the fact that it was my mistake, therefore he wasn't mine anymore. However, that was a mistake on my behalf. And apparently most players, are you going to refute that, Joe?
I am,
Is there
but
an objection
continue.
there? Really? Do you want me to show you everybody's sense?
Hey, order. Plaintiff, continue.
Your Honor, it is clear that since we have started talking about this new amendment that should take place in this league, most people have agreed that if a message is sent to the commissioner to the league instantly after the mistake is made, the person who made the mistake should be able to retain the player for a small tax. I sent the message before I thought that was the case, so I thought that I was only giving him the player because I had to. Since then, since the rules have changed, I want him back.
Defense, did you have a response?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. This new rule was enacted because of your actions, Mr. Miguel.
Exactly.
There was no outstanding rule against doing something that I did, which was picking up a free agent. It was very well within my rights as a team owner and manager in this league. So I don't understand why you are claiming that this makes your case stronger.
Because although there is yet no rule in the league, this case specifically will set precedent for the rest of the many years that we will play this. So
And
if
it
in the
did set
future
precedent.
you draw, if
A
you
law
draw
was
Joe Mason in
enacted
the future,
because of this action. It doesn't mean that the action which occurred before the law should be subject to said law.
Your Honor, do you have any
Yes.
clarification?
Yes, and I will give my opinion at the end of this trial.
What I am trying to say is that it was well understood during the waiver phase that I was going to pick him up. And I did so even inquiring of one fob because I thought that would have been a fair punishment for making a simple mistake. That is clear.
One fob?
If anybody else deemed that it should have been more, they could have told me afterwards or before that. But no one seemed like they were even considering doing it because he is clearly a valuable player and no one else made a move at him.
There was absolutely no talk about whether or not it was ethical to pick this person up.
But I believe that
because the waiver process is blind, I was unable to see if anyone else was going for it. And because my team was so far in the dirt at that point in time of the pickup, I really needed something to get the juices flowing.
Your
So
Honor,
of course,
I don't think desperation.
I, as someone in a place of need, did everything I could to get myself out of it. And you know what? I got Brandin Cooks out of it. And he didn't even help me get to the new point that I'm at today, which is an on-fire, unstoppable, highest-scoring team in the league 2 weeks in a row.
Your Honor, if someone's family is hungry and they steal food from a supermarket, are they breaking the law?
Yes, they would be.
Your need and the fact that your team was asked, not to mention that my team was doing worse than yours at the time, by the way, but only because your team was asked, it doesn't mean that you're allowed to pick him up for.
Please watch your mouth, Mr. Plaintiff.
All I'm saying is that
I'm a very conservative individual.
All I'm saying is that it was well understood in the league that I was going to pick that player up and no one else should have made a move at him. I believe that the fact that only one dirty little player who believed that it was his right only because his team was terrible and it was Usain Bolt.
Did you just call him dirty? Does that have any implication or anything to do with his
No,
race,
I believe
Miguel?
he called you dirty, Mr. Defendant.
You could have objected. Your Honor, I've had enough of this joke of a manager who thinks that Joe Mixon is going to keep scoring 40 a week, that Kareem Hunt isn't going to be useless after Chubb comes back, and that all of his and that his rookie who plays for the 49ers is going to keep catching a touchdown a week. Okay, this is useless. I deserve to have my player back. And
excuse me. What is the relevancy of the competitiveness of Joe's team to this trial?
Your Honor, he was the one who brought it up, not me.
Point taken. All right, defense.
I really don't think I did anything wrong here. Your argument about stealing bread from the grocery store is a crime because the law existed before the crime was committed. There is no crime because there was no outstanding law against it. Therefore, it can't be defined as a crime. I was doing what I had my constitutional right to do, which was pick a free agent off the market. And I spent a lot of money on him, and I want to keep him.
Joe, many times the interpretation of the law is decided through the first case in which an action like that is made. So only because a law wasn't specifically saying that you couldn't do that, this case itself will judge whether you were acting as a criminal or as just an asshole.
Defense, do you have any other evidence to submit to the court?
I do. I have
further
a lot
messages
more.
with the plaintiff.
Allow me to share with the court Exhibit B.
Allow me to also say that he deaded me.
Once again, here is Miguel offering to the entire league his own sad little body, saying that he does not deserve to have Brandin Cooks back.
Interesting.
Your Honor, this is exactly what I said. This was, I believe, before we had the conversation about whether the regulation would be that I would retain Brandin Cooks if I made such mistakes. And since then, it has been stated by most players in the league other than Joe that they would rather have a rule where I get him back.
Miguel, the only reason you want Brandin Cooks back is because he performed well last week. Is that true or false?
I said that that was the first thing I said in my opening statement, Joe.
But then you also said that the performance of the player has nothing to do with your reason for wanting him back.
Exactly, yeah. It doesn't matter if you, Joe, it doesn't matter if you steal.
Then what do you actually believe in?
What do you mean? One thing, just because my player is good, what I'm trying to say is that if I dropped Chris Carson or Alvin Kamara, you would obviously give him back to me and no one would take him, right? Would someone make a move at a first-round pick? Obviously not. Because
I would assume so. That's a first-round pick on the open
Well,
market.
clearly nobody else made one, and we would have probably had the discussion beforehand, right? So what I'm saying is the performance of the player doesn't matter because what you did was wrong, whether I dropped Brandin Cooks or a guy who ended up dropping this week anyway.
What I did might have been ethically wrong, but it was not wrong in the eyes of the law.
That's what we're going to see today.
And I will have trouble sleeping later tonight, realizing how poor and sad and demoralizing my actions were against my own character, and I deserve any slander that you are throwing my way, but I do not deserve to give up Brandin Cooks.
Thank you. Is that all of the evidence you'd like to present today?
No, it's not.
Oh,
Might I share with the court Exhibit C?
I'll allow it.
Unfortunately, unfortunately for Miguel, Brandin Cooks performed extremely well. Here I am in the group of fantasy owners telling the world that I tried to offer him back to Miguel before any good performance was done over the weekend, and Miguel rejected it. This is clear that he doesn't want Brandin Cooks back, and that the only reason that he wants him back now is because of 1 week of good performance.
Once again, Your Honor, I am not stating that I would have gone with this complaint had Brandin Cooks gotten injured this week. I'm obviously only here because we are arguing over a valuable player who should be in my roster.
But to you, he had no value. You were considering dropping him.
That doesn't matter.
And then you actually followed through on your consideration.
Not intentionally. And once again,
for all we know, it could have been intentional. You were delirious at the time of the drop.
I wasn't delirious. I did it accidentally, and 10 seconds later, I texted everybody on the group chat. Joe, I only rejected the trade because I thought it would have been unfair.
10 seconds later, plaintiff, do you have evidence of this? 10 seconds later, texted the group chat.
I don't have evidence that I can honestly, I guess what I can do later on, this won't have any standing on the case.
I have more
a decision right now, but I can take a screen recording of when my message changes from 8 days to 9 days. This at 4 a.m. tonight. So you can see how long it takes for them to be, how long it was between me making the mistake.
Are we really going to adjourn this court and wait
I'm just
for
saying,
that to be generated, and it could easily be faked?
It's true. He does have a point. I do not think that this trial needs any new evidence introduced that is not already brought before the court today.
What about the Chungus?
Exhibit D, I will allow.
All right. This is Jacob, common known do-gooder and league goal setter, offering the question of conversation to the other owners of the league. Should Miguel get Cooks back? And another owner, nah, screw Miguel. Clearly, everyone else is in the same boat that I am, thinking that Miguel's mistake is his own problem.
Clearly, because the person who asked the question subsequently said, after Will jokingly said, nah, screw Miguel, maybe it could be like you have the player back, but you have to pay a penalty. Additionally, another player from the league, Mike Visconti, thumbed up that comment by Jacob. Brett also agreed with that sentiment 10 minutes later.
Interesting. And when was this conversation held? Was this after the drop in question?
After the drop, before
the performance.
During the time in which Miguel rejected my offer of giving him back for free and then said, no, you can have him.
Because once again, I thought I was only doing so in accordance with the law, and I felt bad for taking someone who I did not at the time think that I had any right to, but precedence has been set through the conversation of the league managers that I do have right to that player.
Interesting. Defense, do you have more evidence to submit?
I do.
I'll allow it.
Exhibit E. Miguel being salty.
What? Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Sustained.
That is all I have to offer today.
Thank you,
Honorable
defense.
Judge Daniel.
Plaintiff, final statement from you. Please keep it short.
Consider your namesake player from your team. Judge, what if you drop Drew Lock accidentally? Judge,
Excuse me, I have no team, Mr. Plaintiff. I am a judge.
Judge Daniel, what if the incredibly handsome Dan Vinatucci dropped his namesake player, Drew Lock, accidentally? Joe, what if you dropped your ass RB1, Joe Mixon, accidentally? Would you want him back? Or would you want him to be forever thrown into the hands of another greedy player only because you believe that people in the league would do the right thing?
Miguel,
I rest my case.
is Brandin Cooks your namesake player?
It doesn't matter.
And please answer the question.
No.
Is Brandin Cooks your wide receiver 1?
I don't know. Chris
Remember,
Godwin,
you're under oath, Mr. Miguel.
If Chris Godwin stays out this week, he low-key could be.
Miguel, question. If you receive Brandin Cooks back, will you make him your team namesake?
Yes, Your Honor.
I feel like he's only saying that to get on
He's under
your
oath.
good side.
If he gets him back, then it has to be true. All right.
Am I going to be charged with perjury if I don't?
Yes, you will. I'll see you back here in court if you don't.
Yes, Your Honor. He's going to be my namesake. I
Okay.
don't believe it's
Wow,
relevant.
the pain in your voice. I don't think this is a laughing matter.
I agree. Bailiff, please tell the plaintiff to stop laughing. Yes, thank you. Defense, do you have anything else to add?
All I have to offer are the arguments that I brought before you in this court. There was no law against picking up a free agent off the market. There is now in the case of accidental dropping, but as we've heard from Miguel himself, this wasn't an accident. It was a premeditated, highly considered drop of what he thought to be a bad player. And now, because the player performed well once above their average, he wants the player back. Does that make me the greedy one, or does that make Miguel the greedy one?
All right, thank you. I will return with my verdict shortly. All right, so do you guys actually want me to say something, or do you want to like agree to do something?
What do you, Joe, straight up, what do you actually think is fair? Do you actually think it's fair that you keep him?
I mean, yes.
Really? Because I don't.
I feel like this is a tough Tito situation.
I actually think low-key, especially, I don't know.
I think in the future, the rule that was established is a good amendment to the Constitution, but that rule wouldn't have come up unless something like this happened.
Exactly.
And yeah, you're right. If it was a
mean-
first-round draft pick, no question, everyone would have done the ethical thing and let you pick him up again. But because it wasn't,
That doesn't matter. That's just because a rule isn't clearly stated, we have to have someone break it first. Like if I hack into your account and I put
that's how the law works.
That is
Otherwise,
kind
we
of
have
how the law works,
communism.
Miguel.
So if I hack into your account and drop all of your players by tomorrow, there isn't any rule set on that.
No,
Yeah.
there isn't.
That's true.
So
There
that'd be
wouldn't
fine.
be.
So
Yeah,
that'd be
get
fine.
your fucking encryptor out and break my password.
You know what? If that's actually how the world works, then so be it. Dan's the one who knows law probably most out of all of us. So if rules are only made after a case happens and then the first one's always deemed innocent, then so be it.
All right, I'm ready to deliver my verdict. In the case of Miguel v. Joe regarding the dropping of Brandin Cooks. The Honorable Judge Daniel has decided to side with the defendant in this case. Miguel is not entitled to Brandin Cooks returning to his team. While Joe's actions may be immoral and arguably repugnant, that morality has no bearing on the outcome of this case. There were no rules stating any behavior that must be adhered to from league members. Moving forward, the agreed upon penalty will be enforced, but given that there was no penalty at the time of action, it would be wrong to charge Joe in this case and force him to return Mr. Cooks to the plaintiff. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Your Honor. Miguel, I offer my wrist to you. You may slap it.
Fuck you guys.
Sorry, Miguel. If you would have reached out to me sooner, I probably would have put him back on your team.
I literally said it in the league.
Yeah, but I forgot.
I have a drink.
That is wow.
Hey man, if you want to rule, form a legislative body, and then everybody will be bound to adhere to the rules of the Constitution.
I do think we need a constitution for the league.
I agree. I think we should have a little Constitution writing party.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording.
Put some delegates on.